in the mountains and cliffs here behind me are some of the richest mines in Europe, and they've been mined for over 2,500 years. I've traveled to the Italian island of Sardinia, known for its beautiful beaches, beautiful weather, and great seafood. This place also has some of the richest silver mines in Europe, and they've been mined by countless empires over the last 2,500 years. Today we're going to explore some of the mines, some of the old mining towns, talk about the history and the geology, as well as explore some amazing caves that they actually discovered while mining the rich silver and lead deposits of this island. I'll be straight up honest with you, this video did not turn out like I had hoped. The Italians are very funny about filming their tours. There were some language barrier issues. There were some tours that were in Italian and not in English. This is going to be more of a Jason wanders around remote Italian places and tries to get the footage that he can, and then we'll do some voiceover at the end to fill in the blanks. So I hope you enjoy this travel video through the Italian island of Sardinia. It's known for its great beaches, great seafood, but for the last 2,500 years, it's been known as a huge deposit of silver for whoever could control this territory. Now, it's changed hands many, many times. It's been controlled by the Romans, the Byzantines, the Moors, the Greeks. It was one time controlled by the Spanish, the French, and now it's Italian. We're looking west now towards Porto Flavia, and there's a huge abandoned milling center down here called Messua. They would concentrate the minerals here in Messua, load the concentrates through Porto Flavia onto ships, and in the 1920s to the 1980s, they would take those concentrates up to Belgium and refine them into lead, zinc, and silver doré. But now let's go take a look at Porto Flavia. I'll give you a tour and see what we can see. Driving on some of these Italian roads can be an adventure in itself, between the Italian drivers, the twisty turny roads, and the cliffs on either side. It can really get your blood going, and you really got to pay attention. But the views of the mountains and the beaches are unbelievable. Well, Porto Flavia was a little bit disappointing because it wouldn't let me film while she was talking, which is too bad. But now we're at a different location. This is Monte Pony. This is very close to Iglesias, down in southwestern Sardinia. Right behind me, there's some huge old buildings, some old smelters. You can see the chimney up top. There's some storage units. There's some baths, maybe for cyanide or flotation. And then sitting up here, just at the end of the road, is a cute little mucker. Look at that thing. Beautiful little 1-yard mucker, maybe 2-yard mucker. Just like the one I used to use. But all around this area, there's old mining stuff. There's a big mining compound right there. As you pan around, you can get maybe a little bit better view of Monte Pony. I've driven as far as I can. The Italians are funny. Everything's closed, like from 1 to 6, 1 to 5. So I had to drive for 2 hours to get up here, and it was closed for lunch or something. So I can't get in here, but I do have a reservation somewhere else. One of the very first original mines here, I think it was mined by the Romans, and it opened up into this huge natural cave system. So we're gonna go tour that next. And then afterwards, hopefully I can get into the Mineral Museum here in Iglesias, and hopefully we can check out some of the minerals they have stored and on display. Well, I convinced an old guy with my broken Italian to open the gates. So I got access to Monte Pony, and it's just a ghost town. It's crazy. I think I understand this was operated up into the 80s and early 90s when it was finally shut down. So all these buildings are 20, 30 years old, and they're just falling down. Let's go take a quick walk around, see what we can see, and I'll show you what I can show you. Everything is fenced off. The roofs are caving in. The towers are falling off. at one time this was like a huge, big operation. And it just all is going to waste. And I'm the only one here. Like, it's kind of eerie. I can't believe these haven't been like torn down or scrapped or taken care of or something. Wow. This building has a sign 1892. Now, what I've read about this area is in the 1840s and 50s, Italy unified from a bunch of little nation states into what we know as Italy today. And Sardinia was part of that and became part of the Italian country. In the 50s, in the 1850s, because Italy was unified, they really started looking at their resources. And Sardinia, because it had been mined for over 2,000 years previously, they knew there was lead, zinc, and silver here in southwestern Sardinia. So they started opening these mines. And a lot of these mining complexes worked continuously from 1850 all the way up into 1950, 1960s, 1970s. They produced hundreds of thousands of tons of lead and zinc and thousands of tons of silver. It was one of the economic engines that boosted Italy through the World War I and World War II and really gave them a huge economic boost, and both monetarily, but also gave them employment for their workers. There was over 5,000 people that worked around Iglesias in the mines. Many of them were miners. A lot of them worked in the mill. But this is a whole city up here on this mountain. And I can't imagine the number of people it took to run this place. This is wild. Look at this. I can just walk here and I can look in these old buildings. And inside the buildings are just these big old motors and big pieces of equipment. Can't really see what I'm getting here. I'm just shoving my arm through a broken window, but birds flying around. Bonkers. Pozzocella. Pozzocella. Cobwebs. I guess this is what an abandoned Italian mining town looks like. Like offices in there. Look, I mean, there's even old like papers. Huh. Garbage on the ground. I mean, this is bonkers. Like, I never would, but I could just like jump over any one of these gates and or these fences and get in here and just look around. Like here's a good example. Right off the road, there's a little wall, 2 feet tall. You look over, someone's put stairs there, and then you can just get in there and just walk all down through that building if you wanted to. Big ornate windows. Like that fence. Like that's not keeping anybody out. I just come up around the corner, there's a little bluff I can look down, and there's a bunch of mine carts right down there. A bunch of ore carts. Just sitting there. They're full of stuff. A lot of these, oh look, there's more down over here. Right down there. See if we can get a better look at those. It's like they just decided on a Friday afternoon to not come back to work on Monday. They just like left everything here. And it's real weird. It's real weird. Yeah. Look down there. I wonder if that's ore. That may be ore down there. Just sitting there. Monte Pony. Oh, so now we're on the back side of what I showed you earlier. There's the old smelting chimney up there. Some more smelting stuff. It looks like that's where they were drawing air. I've seen stuff like that at Cerro Gordo. And they're mining the exact same ore here as that lead, zinc, silver, rich ore. And I wonder if this was the early smelting stuff with the old smelting chimneys. And they just built on top of, you know, the history. And they finally developed these steel buildings. Look at that cool little crane there. Used for unloading something. Trucks, I guess. Right along this driveway. Oh, I hear a truck. Well, we'll head out of Monte Pony. We're going to head to the Santa Barbara Cave now. You can see across the valley all the tailings from Monte Pony. So that's where we just were. Now we're at the Santa Barbara mine. Very similar feeling. Just all these buildings are dilapidated, falling down. There's some sort of hopper there. Here was a building that must have stored the ore. Conveyor belt coming up here into different ore bins. Here, ore storage. It's just a really, really interesting feel to this whole abandoned mining town thing going on near Iglesias. But if you look up there, ignoring the trees, it could be Cerro Gordo. Limestone cliffs. I believe the portal's right around here somewhere. I think we're going underground. Well, here's an old portal right off the parking lot. And the air is blowing through there like crazy. It's about 95 degrees outside, and the air through there is probably coming out at 65 or 70. Feels good, but the amount of air coming through there is telling me there's a bunch of workings, and they must go up really high to have the temperature differential to suck all that air through here. There's some mineral samples. Nothing looks really hot though. All right, everybody, we are doing it. We are on the train, headed into the Santa Barbara mine. A real unique place. Like anything Italian, they've made this crazy, ornate, wrought iron spiral staircase up to the cave. The situation here is when they were mining, the miners were putting a shaft in up to the surface to try and get some ventilation. And they punched through into this natural cave system on one of their blasts. And rather than getting a mine tour, we ended up getting a cave tour. And I didn't really understand what was happening until I got into the cave. I thought we were getting a mine tour, but my Italian comprehension was not as good as I thought, and so I ended up in a cave. The other problem with this tour was when I showed up, the guy who gave the English tours was off that day, or he didn't show up for work. So this whole tour is in Italian, but I'm going to do my best to fill you in on what we see here. This was a jaw-dropping cave. There are some amazing features in here. Apparently this cave is formed between two layers of deposition from the Precambrian era, about 500 million years old. So there's a conformity, there's a contact between these two layers of different types of limestone, and that's where the water trickled down over the years, over the millennia, and opened up this cave. And it has some of the most impressive water created stalactites and stalagmites I've ever seen. Another very unique thing in this cave that I've never seen before is huge barite crystals covering the walls. These barite roses, another evaporite mineral. And so as the water level in this cave changed over the millions of years, you would have these different deposition events, and the barite crystals is one of them. Obviously stalactites, stalagmites, you have waterfalls, you have all these amazing cave formations that are created by the water dissolving these minerals out of the country rock, percolating down and finding an open space in this cave. And as it comes into an open space, these minerals start to crystallize out in the form of stalactites and stalagmites. And so you have these amazing features that take thousands and thousands, sometimes millions of years to grow. This cave is about 70 meters wide and has a height differential of about 25 meters. So it's a really big open space in this mountain. And the miners found it by accident when they were doing some development work, blasted into this cave, and apparently the mine foreman at the time blocked off the entire cave so it wasn't disturbed by miners, which is pretty unique because most of the times you'd think miners would come in here and just start breaking stuff off and taking little trinkets and stuff from here and there. And but this mine operator, this shift boss, whatever he was, sealed the whole place off, and so it was very well preserved and has since been turned into a tourist destination. And it is really one of the more remarkable caves I've ever been in. My suggestion is, if you go, be sure to book tickets because they won't just let you walk up. And you also, I believe, need a parking pass.
Okay, thank you.
And independent of both of those things, make sure that you get the English tour because, as I mentioned earlier, this was the Italian tour, and so I really have no idea most of what they said. And rather than being a mine tour, I ended up on a cave tour. All that being said, it was definitely worth the trip. It was a great tour, and if you're ever in Sardinia for the beaches, the food, the weather, check out these caves and some of this old mining stuff because it is really jaw-dropping. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's a little bit different from what I normally do. Again, not quite what I had hoped, but I think it was worth putting up for you guys to see and share the footage and share the experience. So let me know what you think with a comment down below. Otherwise, everybody, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.